So I'm going to leave it all up to Kervin and kind of round off at the end, but we're really excited to hear what you've got to say, Kervin.
Right. First and foremost, let me just thank you all for taking your time out of your busy scheduled day just to be with us today and giving us an opportunity. I really want to thank Barclays, James, and not just James, that entire team that have actually put together this initiative. And somewhere along the line, I'll hopefully share with you what you're actually buying into, what you're supporting from the beginning to the end, okay? Intro, let me just talk about me for a while. It's a good place to start. I'm kind of just going to go back into some of my past and bring you kind of up to speed. I was initially a drug addict for 36 years, an alcoholic drug addict for 36 years. I don't come from a bad family, I came from a very good family, in fact. My second cousin was the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. So I come from good stock. But somewhere along the line, I started to make some bad choices, and some of those choices were made initially because I had some bad experiences. I was sexually abused as a 6-year-old child. I was then physically abused from the age of 8 years old, and by the time I was 14, I had been beaten with a pickaxe handle, a hoover pipe, a wooden bench, speaker wires, and the high heels of my mother's stiletto shoes, all done by my father. At the time I was 14, my oldest brother then pinned my father up against the wall and said, "You will not put your hands on him anymore," and the beating stopped. But by that time, because of the experiences that I'd had, I'd already started to drift into a different life set. For me, for example, although I was a kind of an A-class student doing quite well in most of my academics, my need for acceptance, because of the neglect I was getting from home, meant that I was easily impressed by others. So I kind of started to detract from my education and started to look for my social network for the affection that I weren't getting at home. That kind of spiraled out of control to an extent where crime became involved in all of that, and my addiction led from one drug to another. Alcohol became a whole part of that. And I kind of went on with that for many years, continuing to make some very, very bad decisions. It culminated to the point where 2004, 21 armed officers stormed my house and took my 3 children and put them into care because of the lifestyle I was living. By that time, I was a fully fledged gangster walking around with 9mm semi-automatic pistols, and shotguns were my friends. I was now bringing in drugs for the yardies through Dover and Heathrow and many other areas. In fact, I flew out to Jamaica and sold about 100 condoms and brought them in. All part of my drug addiction life. Anyway, after my children were taken into care, I kind of spiraled even more out of control for a while, and kind of blaming the whole world as for the reasons why all of these things were happening to me. And at some point, and I can remember the day like it was yesterday, I was actually laying down in bed having broken both my ankles. On one time chasing somebody with a 9mm semi-automatic, on another occasion having committed a £30,000 robbery and being chased quite fastly by the police. I jumped off a roof on both occasions, smashed every bone in both my ankles, and I now have a disability which will live with me for the rest of my life. But at one point, laying down on a bed with my legs in plaster, crutches, my children in care, I've lost a £500,000 home, I've lost 2 businesses, 3 cars on the drive, and I'd actually pushed away everybody that had ever meant anything to me. I was now lying down on my own in a bed and breakfast, crying my eyes out. And at this point, I kind of cried out to a God, and I'm not here to convert any of you, ladies and gentlemen, but I did cry out to a God that I had no knowledge of at the time. And within 15 minutes of me doing this cry, I had a phone call from somebody that I had not heard from or spoken to for over 15 years. I could only attribute that to a divine intervention. That became the beginning of my journey, of my recovery. I came to Coventry in 2005 with nothing but the clothes on my back. I had a 2p piece in my pocket. I'd breached 3 drug and treatment orders that the court was trying to get me to go to, and I was looking at a 14-year prison sentence for facilitating the illegal entry of illegal immigrants while in possession of Class A drugs. For anybody that doesn't understand what that means is, I was bringing in the yardies in through Dover, they were all carrying drugs strapped to their bodies, and I was also falsifying documents to give them false passports so that they can actually get into the country, because England and Jamaica had now decided that they were going to share this visa thing. So this was all part of my drug addiction life, and it continued, and I was looking at a 14-year sentence. Now, some people might say that some of the things that happened to me are coincidental, but not even the greatest chess master player could have strategically planned the events that my life turned into. So I do have to believe, and I'm not forced to believe. It's a direct experience that I've had, that I've witnessed myself in the transformation of my life. And that intervention is what's actually brought me from where I was to where I am. Now, I came to Coventry in 2005, as I said, with nothing but the clothes on my back. And when I arrived in Coventry, I didn't arrive to find faith or to look for God or anything else. I came to Coventry because I wanted to get my children out of care. That was my primary agenda, nothing else. While I was here, I met some wonderful people. It was actually a Christian-run rehabilitation centre that I was in. And they directed me to Coventry Cathedral, where I began my relationship with God. Once I started my relationship with God, everything else seemed to just fall into place for me. For many years, I tried to make what I believed to be qualified decisions. And I was very good at what I did. There was never, money to me came very easy. I didn't have to work as hard as some other people to get what I got. I was very gifted, I was very quick at what I did, and whatever I put my hand to, I kind of profited very quickly. But it never stood its test of time, it never lasted. I was always finding myself having to go off to another project to try and make it all over again. And as quickly as I lost it was as quickly as I made it again. On this occasion, though, I've got a lot of long-lasting relationships that have started from what I've done since I've come to Coventry. And this is part of what I really want to share with you this afternoon. That's a very, very quick run through my life. I'm 50 next birthday, and I've been through a lot, but by the grace of God, here I am. So I want to share with you what homelessness is all about, because that's what I experienced. Over here we've got a board, which me and Caroline sat down. Where is Caroline? I've seen her somewhere. There she is. Well, me and Caroline sat down a week or so ago, and we decided to look at what was the 4 steps, or some similar steps from homelessness. Well, imagining that at one point I sat down there with a £500,000 home, 2 businesses and 3 cars on the drive, and playing happy families. And very quickly, I went from that to a bed and breakfast. And very quickly, I went from a bed and breakfast to absolutely nothing. And my only choice was prison. Fortunately, that didn't happen. And here I am standing before you today. But that's the choice that's available to a lot of people. And I don't think many of you are aware of just how close to homelessness you really are. And I think that's part of the reason why we wanted to do this. And I'm hoping by the time we finish with you today, you'll have a greater understanding as to what homelessness is all about and how it impacts you. One of the other things that I will say is some of the issues relating to homelessness is not far away from your own doorstep. Whether it be a friend, a family member, a close associate, or even a loved one, you will actually find that homelessness is a moment away from you. A couple of bad choices is all it took. Okay. Bearing that in mind, I came to Coventry in 2005. I met a wonderful woman who came into the rehab centre and started to encourage me. And as she did so, she was going to a church in Northpoint. And it's at this point I'd like to just introduce you to my pastor. And I'm going to stop and start this as I go along, so just bear with me. And I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey and I hope to get a greater understanding to what I'm talking about.
Okay, my name's Patrick Boyle. I'm the pastor of this church, Northpoint Church in Belgreen, Coventry. Been the minister for nearly 20 years. And the heart of this church and this ministry is very much to connect with our community, with our city, to help disadvantaged people, whether it's working with children or youth, as we have ministries doing here, or working with older people, or as in the case of Anesis, our homeless ministry. It's to get alongside, help, assist, work with people who may be struggling, who are disadvantaged in some way, and help them to feel part of our community, to encourage them to look a little bit higher, to get alongside them and help them in any way that we can. Really, that's the heart of our church, and from the moment you join, that is the sort of thing you get caught up in and are encouraged to be involved with, to connect to the city, to the community. Okay.
My name's Steve. I'm an elder here at Northpoint Church. This is Marie, my wife.
Hi.
Hello. We're just going to talk to you briefly a little bit about Anesis and what we do here at Northpoint Church. First of all, we met Kervin, who is now leading up Anesis, about 3 years ago, something like that, 3 or 4 years ago, when Kervin came to us, and he married one of the ladies in our church, Paula. And they've been coming here steadily, and I've seen Kervin change, I've seen Kervin come on, and I've seen Kervin get excited and wanting to do things in the community. And that's what we do here at Northpoint Church. We're just about helping people. We're about bringing out the best in people. And we don't do that just because we're good people. We do that because that's what our faith, that's what Jesus has done for us.
Okay. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this wasn't just my vision. There are other people who shared in this vision that I had. Just as many of you who sat down here in front of us today have these kind of thoughts as to how can I help, what can I do. I'm just not a one-man army. There are other people who would like to get involved in this kind of thing. I suppose, but sometimes we're always waiting for somebody to show us how to do it. That's probably one of the key things. I mean, I was just so on fire with the positive changes that was going on in my life. That I was bursting to do something. I was desperate to do something. All of these, I don't know if you could understand what I mean, but so many things had gone wrong with my life that all of a sudden so many good things were happening. I just wanted to run out there and shake people and say, it doesn't have to be this way. There is another way. I kind of wanted to work with people who also wanted to help others, because that was now my key. I had now been helped, and I wanted to go out and help others. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I wanted to do it. Now, one of the biggest problems we have in this environment is the general perception of a homeless person. Okay? And in my own experience and in working with Anesis on the streets, we have found out what you see ain't always what you get. Now we're going to look at 3 short cases that will give you a small insight, and a very small insight, into what homelessness is. To get tired of this.
Do you know,
you're going to have to get tired of this.
Do you know the thing? I said to you yesterday, I can't see the starting point. No home, no house, no money, doing the drugs, doing the alcohol, doing this, doing that. I can't see a point to start with. People say, oh, you do this, do that.
I'll tell you what.
I wouldn't even.
No, hang on. No, listen to me very carefully, because you're looking at the wrong point. You're looking at the point to start with. First of all, you need to accept you've got nothing. No. You're looking for a point to start with. No home, no job, no blah-de-da. You need to accept you've got nothing. That's your start point. Your start point is you've got nothing. You can't lose anything if you've got nothing to lose. You've got everything to gain now.
Do you know what I've realised now?
You've got everything to gain.
I need help.
The choices that you make.
I've always been selfish in my way of being, but I've tried dealing with myself now, and I've realised I can't.
But people have been trying to help you, you're just not responding to the help that they're offering you.
So I keep thinking, do you know what, I've been there doing it, and I've got the hat, t-shirt and scarf, and now all of a sudden...
But you haven't. Been there and done what? You know?
I love you to bits.
In sales, right? In sales, you know what they used to say? A salesman is only as good as his last sale.
Yeah.
Yeah? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
bragging out about the past ain't getting you anywhere, mate.
I need to put it to bed, innit?
What are you doing with yourself now? What are you doing with yourself now?
Sum it up in maybe one word, probably just lost.
Yeah. But there's somebody waiting for you.
I don't even know what I'm laughing about.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not going to sit down here and try and preach to you, but you've had a message with God. You know? You've had that moment.
Yeah.
Right? You know what's waiting for you. You just got to change your choices. Alright? Go and get yourself something to eat.
Good guy, yes.
Hello, me old matey.
Hello, Danny. How are you, mate? Is there any more of that? Yeah.
Okay, Helen and Mark, could you tell me a little bit about how you've come to be here today? You've come a long distance, I understand.
Yeah, Helen and me live about 5.5, maybe 6 miles north of here. straight up that road, up the Coleshill Road. We live outside the city limits. We live in a place called Medworth. It's nearly 6 miles from here. We walk in every Sunday to the food and soup handout, and we get a household bag. We're cooking at home. We've been doing this about a year now, isn't it? My Helen is learning disabled, but it took a very long time to get any kind of benefits or social security, any kind of recognition. Last year they took her youngest daughter off her to give to family because she was 12 and she was looking after Helen and doing everything for her. Then the social service, the job centre decided that she couldn't sign on because she wasn't capable, because she had no brain functions, no numeracy, literacy skills, any mobile abilities. But the incapacity people and the disabled people wouldn't recognise her until she'd be fully diagnosed, which meant month after month after month of specialists. So basically we were caught in that catch-22 situation. Couldn't sign on the dole, couldn't get the incapacity established, couldn't get the disability established. So we're living on very little hand to mouth. And the God's honest truth is we basically survived on a lot of your food handouts, because we live in the one room of our property. Obviously we can't afford all this heating. I mean, mine is 10 and 15. We can't afford to run the heating in this. And we've got a big ring burner, and we've got a heater in there. And what we do is the food that we gather here, we put into a big pot, and I keep one broth going continuously, because your household bags give us lots of fruit and veg and potatoes, and there's a lot of bread here, and that's what we do. And we really have, from week to week at times, survived on what you've given us. Put it out in the shed, because it's cooler in the shed. We don't have a fridge or a freezer. Put it out in the shed and bring it in piecemeal and add up the big broth pot, add to it as we go along. We did that for a very long time. I mean, even now, Helen's just got her benefits established, but not fully, and that was from not August this year, August last year, and we're still fighting for things like you should get a bus pass and other things. Because she's not got a limb missing, and it's not an obvious physical disability, because it's brain disability, shut down of higher functions and everything. It's a very hard thing to fight. You know, even though, as I say, we're in that catch-22, they won't let us sign on as an employment seeker, because she's not capable of employment. It's very hard then to prove your case for incapacity.
So what's that make you think about the system? Do you just think that the system's wrong, it doesn't seem to care?
I think the system's very unkind, because the social services took Helen's 12-year-old daughter, recognising that the daughter was looking after Helen, and they said a 12-year-old can't be looking after her mother, she must have a childhood, she must have everything. And then the dole office turn around and say you can't sign on, and then everybody else says, well, you can't have any of this. You know, you can't have disability, you must prove every inch of the way. I mean, we've lost count of the appeals. We've lost count. I mean, we have, stacked in the corner, we have reams of paperwork, fighting, the Citizens Advice Bureau, independent advocates, you know, every sort of support agency that operates on a charitable basis, on a funded basis, is fought for us. And that's the only reason we got through in the end. And obviously the food that comes each week, yeah, we really have survived on your food as a broth. Yeah. It just seems unfair that the system could say a daughter can't look after her and take the daughter, and say she can't look after the daughter's welfare, and say she can't sign on because she's not capable of employment. But then you have to fight tooth and nail. From August, we finally won benefits, as in, we still haven't completely won, but won a reasonable amount of benefits in October this year. Do you think August to August is 12 months? September, October, 14 months, and she still hasn't got a bus pass she's entitled to. So we walk back and forth 6 miles.
So 6 miles there, 6 miles back?
6 miles back.
So
the sun's going down now, it's getting cold again. We'll probably leave here 3:30. It'll take us till 5 or 5:30 to get home. And then I'll start chopping your food bag up and putting it in the broth pot. Right.
And that just about gets you through a week on that?
It does, with the bread, yes. At times it has been the one and only thing, because they have no problem suspending benefits. It's not an issue for them, because they just put a tick in a box or stroke across a piece of paper, and they alter your lives. You know, which is fundamentally unfair, but It's either those who have the power to do it to you and those of us who don't have the power to resist it. As I say, if it wasn't for people like CAB, independent advocates, other supported advisory people, benefits people who help with, we'd be stuck. And people like yourself who actually come onto the street and give people who haven't actually got the money to go into those supermarkets and buy the food, and give us the food. It's good. We've been stuck. Really stuck.
Okay, Carol, can you tell me a little bit about why you come here and what this means to you?
Yeah, I come here. I've been coming here for about a month, 6 weeks. In June, I had a house fire and I became homeless, me and my family. And it just made me realise that all these facilities people say are available to the homeless are not there. None of them are. So, you know, it's places like this that help the homeless. And, you know, through that experience, I feel like God put it on my heart to come and do something and maybe be a voice, try and, you know, open up new things for homeless people. You know, just to let people know that people that think that all these facilities are there, as I did in the past, I thought they were, but they're not. And doing this means everything to me. You know, I wish I could do more, and that's what I'm hoping for, that I can voice my opinion and maybe do more for people.
So, Carol, when you had the house fire, how long did it take before you finally got some of the premises? And did you have to buy that yourself, or did the council supply you with it?
No, what happened was I was actually homeless for 4 months, me and my children. The day of the fire, we went to the housing department, Spire House, a homeless unit. It was on a Friday, and we were told to come back on Monday because they were really busy. And luckily, I had friends and family that we could stay with. We went back on the Monday. They put us in temporary accommodation, which was fine. You're allowed to bid. There's a bidding system in Coventry where you bid for properties. I was top priority bidding, and I bidded on a property and didn't get it. You're not allowed to bid after that yourself. The council match you to a property, and they matched me to a property kind of miles away from our life. You know, me and my children have got a life. They go to local schools, things like that. I wanted to be in as near as the same area. And because I refused the property, they put us out of the temporary accommodation, so they actually made us homeless. But like I say, I'm a lucky one. I've got friends and family that we stayed with until we got a property. And the property is a private property, which, you know, I had to find myself, with the help of some friends and everything. But I did have to find it myself, yeah. And what I noticed with the council, the housing department, is if you can't put ticks in boxes, you don't get any help, you're sent away. So, you know, I know these people, you know, they're not making it up, they're homeless because nobody will help them. You know, if they can't tick boxes, they won't get any help.
This is really the real work of Anesis. And this is what the service means to those who have not. For me, these people matter. They have something to offer. They're not all drug addicted, alcohol dependent, shoplifting, carjacking, housebreaking, purse grabbing, criminal opportunists, benefit scrounging hobos who couldn't give a damn. These are people like you and me. Some single, some couples, some families. We can't all go out and help them, but that's what Anesis does. But through your support, you can help us to help them. What you actually saw there was 3 different case studies, and one of them in particular we've worked with for many years, the first one, which was entitled Tough Love. And contrary to what people believe, not everybody goes out on the streets as an addicted alcoholic dependent. Some people actually develop this as a coping mechanism to manage how they survive out on the streets. And those of you that will be sleeping out with us on Friday night will be quickly thinking, what can I use to ease this pain? Fortunately, we're only going to have to do it for one night, and everything will be back to normal the next day. Some of these guys, after 3 or 4 days, after 2 or 3 weeks, their resilience is down, they're now down to everything that they've tried don't work no more. And they're open to all sorts of stuff. And that's what we're here for. Now, again, I don't do this on my own. I work as a partnership with my wife. Between me and my wife, we also work with a partnership with the church. As a church, we work with other agencies around the community. And we're not just trying to say we're the only ones out there in the community doing stuff, because there are many organizations trying to do stuff in the community that supports people who are vulnerable. As you may have noticed, that it's not just homeless people that we were supporting, it's vulnerable people as well. So I would just like to kind of wrap up this particular section with this next clip to give you an idea that even with myself, even I need help.
I just wanted to say, encourage people that we've had a real privilege, the pair of us, where we've been round to Kervin and Paula's for hours on end at times when they've gave us a call and there's been a crisis in the home, or they've needed our help, and that's a real privilege because we can only help them because we've been there before them. And the thing is about Kervin and Paula, for me, is they've got a teachable spirit. And if you've got a teachable spirit, there's no limits to what you can do. Because if you can humble yourself and give yourself and listen to advice and take that on board, then the sky's the limit. And Kervin and Paula have been so teachable, and that's why they've turned around all the things that have happened in their lives, and now they're now using those things that weren't very nice when they were going through them, but they can use those things now and help others who are going through exactly the same as they are. It's about giving of yourself, out of yourself, and others benefit from that.
That's right. No, I agree really with that. Like I say, we had people that helped us when we was in circumstances, and we want to do the same for them, and in turn they will do the same to other people.
Yeah.
That's what's so amazing about it, really.
Yeah.
When you're living your normal lives and somebody's having an absolute crisis at home, you need to be there for them, and eventually, ultimately, they come into their own, and we see them helping others. It's amazing.
Never give up. Never give up. Kervin hasn't, and he's still going strong. Praise God.
Yeah. Amen to that.
I just want to round up now. I'm only here because I got given a second chance. In all honesty, when I stood before the judge 5 years ago, he could have actually just sentenced me to the 14 years, thrown away the key and forgotten about me and just left me to get on with my life. But I remember standing in that dock, and I asked for an opportunity to speak with the judge, and I pleaded with him. And when I pleaded with him, I begged him to give me one more chance, because I knew inside of me there was somebody that had potential. I knew I had potential. I knew I could make an impact if I was given a chance. I knew I could do something constructive and positive. I remember my words to the judge that day was, I am a talented individual, and if you give me a chance, I promise you, I'll make a positive contribution to my community. That's what I've worked towards. Now, last year, in February, I was nominated and awarded the Pride of Coventry Local Hero Award. I also received the Lifetime Achievement Award, which also Barclays was present at and had sponsored another, which is how I got to get into this relationship with yourselves. And life, that second chance has allowed me to go back out into the community and do things for others. But in the meantime, just to finish up with, I just want to share a couple of things with you. The opportunity to impact other lives, right, for me is our primary call. This is what we're here for. I suppose we can all just go about our busyness, doing about the stuff that really just matter to us, never really worrying about what's happening to the guy next door. But let me tell you something, what's happening to the guy next door is going to have an impact on you. If it's not going to have an impact on you, it's going to have an impact on your child. If it's not going to have an impact on your child, it'll have an impact on a family member. But somewhere along the line in your life, somebody's going to have an impact on you, just as you can have an impact on your choice is whether the impact is positive or negative. Now, we're about to go through another whole dimension here at the minute. I wasn't going to do this, but I am going to do it because a couple of months ago, we actually had a Channel 4 team following us around for a while. And I was told that it was particularly, they're doing this new program called I Can Do That. And this but practically dummy journalists, wanted to learn what homelessness was all about. So I'd done that with them, and then they ended up filming for about a week, and they carried on filming, and they carried on filming. And by the end of the week, they sat me down and said, we're not really the Channel 4 team that's doing a program called I Can Do That. You've now just been had by the Secret Millionaire program. Now, I think that's a tremendous acknowledgement and achievement. Thank you. But our vision doesn't stop there, because for me, our next step is we're actually looking to set up something that doesn't just sustain and maintain homelessness, but something that takes people out of it and re-educates them, re-skills them, and gets them to go back out into the community, as I did, enabled to be a productive member of that society. So we're looking to set up a very small-based community rehab in Coventry, which we're going to be coming back to friends and members and relationships that we've built with people like yourselves, and asking you to partner and invest with us again. But I just want you right now, as you're thinking, what could you do to make a difference in your community? Well, what you're doing is what you're doing here. It's supporting organisations like ourselves. It's supporting organisations like Emmaus and Christmas Open Day, and getting involved in that sponsorship and that giving heart that encourages those of us who actually go out there and work in that environment on a day-to-day basis to know and believe that we're actually making a difference, because that difference is coming back out into the community and you're benefiting from it. With that in mind, I'd like to close this particular part and thank you for your attention. My name's Kervin Julien. What you've just witnessed was a voluntary organisation called Anesis, which actually goes out onto the streets on a weekly basis, feeding the homeless, and is part of what you've actually bought into. Thank you very much.